Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Berkeley County Board of Education meeting this Tuesday, October 9th, 2018. I call this meeting to order. I declare a quorum is present and the media has been notified. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. McQuillan, a second by Ms. Conder to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries. We'll now entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting on September 25th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. McQuillan, a second by Ms. Conder. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Now entertain a motion to enter into executive session.
So move.
Second.
There's a motion by Ms. Conder, a second by Mr. Wright, to enter into executive session. The stated purpose of executive session is legal advice pertaining to attorney-client privilege regarding personnel matters, discussion of a pending contractual matter related to the Berkeley Education Center and Fox Bank Elementary School, discussion of pending employment matters to include the appointment of administrators, and 2 student expulsion appeals. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. We are in executive session. We'll now entertain a motion to return to regular session.
So move.
There's a motion by Reverend Spann, a second by Mr. McQuillan to return to regular session. Is there any discussion? I'd like to state for the record, no action was taken in executive session. Hearing no additional discussion, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We are in regular session. Please now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll now move on to agenda item 4A, citizen comments. In order to conduct the meeting in an orderly and efficient manner, we ask that you honor the following guidelines. Stakeholder comments are welcomed and encouraged. However, the board will not take immediate action on public comments at this meeting. Any person wishing to address the board must register prior to the meeting. Comments must be regarding programs, policies, or procedures. Comments regarding complaints against employees other than district-level executives or references to students other than the child of the speaker will not be heard in public session. Groups addressing the same topic should select one speaker. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker. The board chair reserves the right to allot additional time or halt public comments that do not adhere to the guidelines. I would like to invite to the podium Mr. Carpenter, who would like to speak on the school refused to release my children to me during the state of emergency prior to Hurricane Florence. Mr. Carpenter, you're recognized.
Thank you very much. If this doesn't fall in line with the guidelines, I apologize. I don't know if it's a policy of Berkeley County or if it was a subjective decision made by the individual at the school at the time, but on September 10th, Berkeley County Emergency Operations Center declared OPCON 2 prior to Hurricane Florence making landfall. That designation means that they have determined that there is an emergency situation imminent and evacuations will be pending. I chose to activate my family's emergency action plan. I arrived at Nexton Elementary at approximately 12:30 and asked to have my children brought to the front. I am the joint legal guardian of these children. I was told by Nancy Lee that she would not honor my request. I explained.
You can't discuss the name of the administrators.
I apologize.
But you can tell us what happened.
I asked the school officials to show me in the prevailing court order where there was any language that prohibited me from picking up my children under the circumstances. I asked her to put herself in my place. I asked her to contact the primary custodian, who is the mother of the children, as I am the secondary custodian. She was unable to reach the mother. I had tried to reach mother. I explained to her that it seemed very unreasonable for me to have to leave my children during a state of emergency under the assumption that somebody would come and pick them up later and care for them. These children are 5 and 7 years old. And so I left. We are in the middle of hurricane season. I can see this same scenario playing out more than once. I would like some guidance on how to navigate it more effectively, as I feel that the attitude from the officials at the school was not only unsympathetic, but fairly unrepresentative of the core values written on the wall of the office. I believe I made a very reasonable request, and barring some fear of harm coming to those children by releasing them to me, there was no reason that I should have been turned away at that time and unable to evacuate my children. That is all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next, we'll move on to Agenda Item 5A, Action as Required from Executive Session. Let's start with the student expulsion appeals. I'll hear a motion for student number 1.
Madam Chairwoman, in the matter of student number 1, I move that we allow this child to return to their home school on strict probation and grant the expulsion appeal.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. McQuillan, a second by Ms. Conder, to return student number 1 to the home school on strict probation to grant the expulsion appeal. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
The ayes have it. I'll now entertain a motion for student number 2.
Madam Chairwoman, in the matter of student number 2, I move that we grant the expulsion appeal and allow the child to return to their home school on strict probation.
Second. There's a motion by Mr. McQuillan, a second by Wofford, to grant the expulsion appeal, return the child to the home school on strict probation. Is there any additional discussion?
Madam Chair, I have a suggestion that policy as written basically limits the hearing officer's discretion in particular circumstances, such as a pocket knife or some sort of a weapon type. These particular circumstances that come to us on a fairly regular basis, I suggest could be adjudicated and decided by the hearing officer. If the policy is so amended, we could actually give the authority of the hearing officer to make, along with consultation of the school principal, certain considerations, rather than having the child one and done, basically expelled without recourse except to the school board.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
The ayes have it. We'll now move on to the motion for the State Department. Ms. Condon.
Yes. Madam Chairman, I wish to make a motion to accept the recommendation of the administration to approve that formal complaint and report of the breach of contract for 2 teachers to be sent to the State Board of Education to ask that appropriate action be taken against the employees for unprofessional conduct as discussed during executive session.
Second. There's a motion by Ms. Conder, a second by Wofford. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay. Motion carries. We'll now move on to the administration appointments. We'll start with Ms. Lee.
I'd like to make a recommendation of, or accept the recommendation of the administration to name Mrs. Jessica Coates as the new coordinator of early learning programs with a contract to take effect as soon as suitable replacement is found for her current position.
Second.
There's a motion by Ms. Lee, a second by Mr. Wright, to name Ms. Jessica Coates as the new coordinator of early learning programs with a contract to take effect as soon as a suitable replacement is found for her current position. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay. The motion carries. Congratulations. Tell us who you brought with us to make you endure all the fun of a school board meeting.
I brought my husband Joe and my son Brett and my son Jack.
Congratulations. We're very happy.
Thank you, so am I.
Yeah, we also like to photo op it, even though we've been here a long time, so we'd love to have a picture of your family. We love to celebrate.
I love taking pictures.
Sally?
Next, I move to accept the recommendation of the administration to name Ms. Stephanie Wallace as the new lead curriculum coordinator with a contract to take effect as soon as a suitable replacement is found for her current position.
Second.
There's a motion by Wofford, a second by Mr. Barrow. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay. Congratulations, Ms. Wallace. Hands down, one of the best first grade teachers, reading teachers, and inspired learning coaches that I have come into contact with. Both of my children were blessed to be taught by Ms. Wallace, so I am sure she will spread all of her wise knowledge of reading to lots of teachers. So congratulations. Last, Ms. Kelli.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to accept the recommendation of the administration to name Ms. Hannah Studemeyer as the new lead instructional coach with a contract to take effect as soon as a suitable replacement is found for her current position.
Second.
There's a motion by Ms. Kelly, a second by Reverend Spann. That is always tricky. Your first name, his last name is always tricky. To accept the recommendation of the administration to name Ms. Hannah Studemeyer as the new lead instructional coach with a contract to take effect as soon as a suitable replacement is found for her current position. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Congratulations. Tell us who you brought with us. Wonderful. Welcome, Craig. Thank you. We want a picture, too. We love to take a picture. We have lots of educators, but we know that their families are a huge part of our extended family because they make a big sacrifice for you to love kids and take care of kids. So we like to celebrate it.
Thank you so much. I'm not the regular photographer.
Next, we'll move on to agenda item 6A. For those of you who do not know, Dr. Ingram is absent tonight because Sweet Miss Sue is not well, but she is recovering, and so he tried to come anyway. He's never missed a board meeting in his entire career, so he tried to come here anyway, and we all refused that he should not come here. He should stay with Miss Sue. So I know he would be very sad to miss your appointments tonight, but I told him he had an appointment with the most important person in his life. So Dr. Whitley is filling in. Also, I called Mr. Jackson as well, and he had surgery on his hand today. So, I mean, I'm like, boy, we are hard times. We've got lots of things going on, but we still get it done and have a great staff. So thank you, Dr. Whitley, for filling in. We really appreciate it.
As many of you are aware, forecasters are monitoring the potential impact of Hurricane Michael across South Carolina, including Berkeley County. Berkeley County School District officials are working closely with Berkeley County Emergency Preparedness and are receiving regular updates about the weather from the National Weather Service. As safety and security is our #1 priority, officials will continue to monitor the storm to determine the potential impact on our schools. Schools and offices will be open tomorrow and will follow their normal schedules. As always, any decisions concerning our schools will be communicated to you via multiple communications platforms, including email, text alerts, call out, social media, and the Berkeley County School District website.
Thank you so much, Dr. Whitley. I appreciate it. We have 2 committee meetings tonight. Both committees have quorum. So we'll now move on to agenda item 8A and adjourn the full board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. McClellan. Was the second Mr. Barrow or Reverend Spann? Reverend Spann. Second by Reverend Spann. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The regular board meeting is now adjourned, and we'll move into committees.
Calling the Committee on Academics and Innovation to order. I declare there is a quorum of committee members present and note that the media has been given proper notice pursuant to the Freedom of Information Act. The first agenda item is the Head Start Budget Expenditures Report for August 2018. Head Start Credit Card Report for August 2018, and prospective new hires for approval. What is the pleasure of my committee? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the Head Start Budget Expenditures Report for August 2018, the Head Start Credit Card Report for August 2018, and prospective new hires.
Second. We have a motion by Mr. Barrow and a second by Ms. Condor to approve the Head Start Budget Expenditures Report for August 2018, Head Start Credit Card Report for August 2018, and prospective new hires for approval. We will now call the question if we do not have any further discussion. All those in favor respond by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The motion is approved. At this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn this committee meeting so that the Finance and Human Resources Committee meeting can begin.
So moved.
Second, the meeting is adjourned.
Mr. Ramsey is taking a test for his professional development, so he couldn't be here tonight. So I will be filling in for the Finance and Human Resources Committee. I'm calling the Committee on Finance and Human Resources to order. I declare there is a quorum of committee members present, and note that the media has been given proper notice pursuant to the Freedom of Information Act. Our first agenda item is the second reading to adopt Policy IKFC and Rule IKFCR. Ms. Wright, you are recognized.
Good evening, Chair Watford, Dr. Whitley, and board members. Going to 2A. We are asking for second reading approval of IKFC Employability Credential and IKFCR Employability Credential Administrative Rule. The Uniform State Recognized South Carolina High Credential is aligned to newly created course of study for these students with disabilities whose individualized education program team determines this course of study is appropriate. Students in the 2020 graduating class and beyond are eligible for participating in the Employability Credentials program. Are there any questions?
The program refers to companies or that's coming into the area and employability. Will you elaborate?
The question was, does this apply to new companies coming into the area? And I would say probably yes.
Okay, this policy, Dr. McLaren, could you talk about this? You were very instrumental in adding information in the policy. This is the employability.
Yes, ma'am. The State Department of Education has set a goal for all students to graduate college and career ready. And for our non-diploma track students, this is the track they'll be taking to better explore careers and work within businesses and to be able to be more self-sufficient in areas they're interested in.
Starting at 2020?
Ending.
Starting at 2020, you said?
Yes, sir, because the current 9th grade class is starting those classes this year, so they will graduate in 2020. Or they will complete in 2020 with this.
Okay.
Is there a motion for agenda item 2A?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve second and final reading to adopt policy IKFC and rule IKFCR employability credentials.
There's a motion by Reverend Spann. Second. There's a motion by Reverend Spann, a second by Wofford, to approve agenda item 2A. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We'll now move on to agenda item 2B. It's the second reading to adopt Exhibit GBPE, application for emergency catastrophic leave program. Ms. Wright.
We are asking for second reading approval of GBPE application for use of ECLP. This is the application that correlates with the GBP Emergency Catastrophic Leave Program policy that we are we're presenting tonight for the second reading.
I move to approve the second and final reading to adopt Exhibit GBPE, application for emergency catastrophic leave program.
Second.
There's a motion by Wofford, a second by Reverend Spann. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. The motion carries.
Oh, that's in your...
Oh, you can say that.
We'll move on to agenda item 2C. It's the first reading to delete policy EGB, Student Athletic and Volunteer Insurance Coverage, and revise policy JGA, Student Insurance Program. Ms. Wright.
We are asking for first reading approval to delete policy EGB, Student Athletic and Volunteer Insurance Coverage, and revive policy JCA, Student Insurance Program. These actions will reflect current practices. Are there any questions?
On a revision of these policies will take effect when?
They'll go through first reading this month, and then the second reading will be the end of November.
So are we replacing the old policies with
Okay,
you have here.
we had two policies that virtually said the same thing, and so we're deleting one of them, and the other one we're revising because
I know
in
we talked about it
yes, sir,
briefly before.
and in July because the board decided not to renew insurance for everyone. So we just wanted to make sure that our policies were reflecting the practice.
Right. Madam Chair, I move to approve the first reading for deletion of policy EGB student athletic and voluntary insurance coverage and revision for policy JGA student insurance program.
Second. There's a motion by Reverend Spann and a second by Wofford. Is there any additional discussion?
I have a question, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
This indicates to me, maybe I'm reading it wrong, but it says the coverage for the, I'm assuming for the, for middle, junior, and senior high school interscholastic sports, cheerleading, mascots, band, etc., begins on the first day of school and ends on the last day of school. If I'm reading that correctly, that does not provide coverage during the summer for student athletes, for, let's say, football practice, for weightlifting, for band practice that begins in July. Am I misinforming? Am I not reading this correctly? Because it seems to me we need to cover the athletes and the band year-round.
Right, so we need to make that correction. Thank you, Mr. Barrow.
Okay, so I am reading it correctly, but we need to revise it.
You are exactly right. Yes, sir. It will be revised tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Be reposted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We'll now move on to agenda item 2D. Motion to approve the recommended change in the pay structure for Kelli Educational Services. Ms. Wright.
We are asking for approval to the proposed pay structure of Kelli Educational Services. The change would allow for people with certification, current or expired, to receive the same rate. We feel that this will increase our pool for qualified subs to support our students. This practice is also in place in Charleston County School District. Any questions?
I move to approve the recommended change in the pay structure for Kelli Educational Services as presented.
Second.
There's a motion by Wofford, a second by Reverend Spann. I do have one question. So that means a retired teacher who'd possibly let their certification lapse would get paid as a current certified teacher. So you may be able to engage some more retirees. Okay.
Just exciting.
Yes. The one thing that they could not do would be serve as a teacher of record if their certificate was not
expired. But I would much rather have a retired teacher substituting than someone else.
I'd like to thank Dr. Whitley for addressing this. I think I brought it to the board's attention 2 meetings ago. Thank you for looking into this and making this happen, because due to the shortage of substitutes, we can always want at least retired teachers, whether they're continued their certification or not, to be in the classroom. So thank you for taking care of that.
This is great.
Thank you.
All right, any additional discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We'll now move on to agenda item I don't know what 2E? No, I'm on the wrong number. 2E. Ms. Ashley Smith is going to give us a financial update.
Good evening, Chair Wofford, Dr. Whitley, and board members. I'll be providing the financial update through August 31st, 2018. In the general fund budget, we received $13 million during the month of August, bringing us to $23 million year-to-date. We had expenditures of $15 million during August, taking us to $22 million year-to-date. 81% was spent on salaries and benefits, and we currently have $4.5 million in encumbrances for outstanding purchase orders. During the month of August, we received $53,000 and spent $1.2 million in the Special Revenue Fund. In the EIA budget, we have received $1.1 million in the month of August, giving us a total year-to-date of $1.8 million. Expenditures year-to-date are $1.8 million, with the majority spent on supplies and materials for our classrooms. Our capital projects budget has a carryover amount of $2.6 million. We received an additional $20.5 million at the beginning of September, and then that is not included here because these numbers are year-to-date through August. We have spent $776,000 year-to-date and currently have $2.2 million encumbered. Our bond referendum budget, although still over budget, is not as dire as what was presented last month. We have looked at this fund line by line and project by project and closed POs that are no longer current projects. The overage will be greater than $4.8 million, but I will explain this in more detail when I present the capital budget presentation. The $13 million in encumbrance includes the remaining balances to close out Fox Bank, Bowen's Corner, and the Berkeley Ed Center. The child nutrition budget has revenue of $10.7 year-to-date, $1.07 million year-to-date, mostly from federal sources, and have expenditures of $1.1 million year-to-date. With the exception of the bond referendum fund, all budgets are in good standing as of August 31st, 2018.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. We'll move on to agenda item 2F, Capital Projects Budget. Ms. Smith.
At the beginning of September, we issued a $35 million general obligation bond. $14.8 million was utilized for existing bond payments. The remaining $20.5 million will be utilized for the overage of the bond projects and upcoming capital projects that will be discussed in this presentation. You've seen this slide before during Dr. Parker's Master Facility Plan presentation. This is year one of the 5-year plan that he and his team put together. The estimated cost on this slide, along with the next 2 slides, are somewhat different than the original version. The estimates were originally extremely conservative due to the uncertainty of the exact amount that we would receive from the general obligation bond. The estimates on these slides are what we are requesting to be approved for the 18-19 budget. This slide, along with the next, was also part of Dr. Parker's presentation with our updated estimates. One project has been added to the original proposal, which is a project that we are requesting to partner with the county to complete. The county approached the district approximately 2 years ago, requesting to work with the district on their project to add a roundabout at Royal Road. This drawing was supplied to us from the county showing the roundabout. Along with the construction of the roundabout, the county will also be providing a pedestrian bridge. The school district will be responsible for adding a double-lane stacking loop at Sangaree Elementary. This shows the overview of Sangaree Elementary and where the district will be responsible for adding the car stacking loop as part of the project. Part of the need for increasing the stacking loop is the need to get the traffic off of Royal Road to keep the cars from backing up on the roundabout. The total cost of the project, including engineering fees and construction, is approximately $2.7 million, but the district's portion of the project would be $200,000. So we go back.
Anytime you can get the cars out of the road, it makes people happy, and it makes parents happy if you can move the car rider loop. Yes. There are lots of places I want us to work on the car rider loop. I can make a list.
This brings our requested maintenance capital needs for year one to $2.9 million. We have additional capital needs as well. The district needs to replace canopies and awnings at many locations, replace maintenance vehicles, add 2 new security vehicles, add new buses, and landfill cost. We also have technology needs, and my next slide will show the breakdown of the $3.9 million request, a contingency for unexpected repairs and projects, startup supplies for our 3 newest schools, bond fees, phase 2 of our ERP implementation, DHEC required asbestos inspections, the Numerix contract, and startup costs for the Berkeley Ed Center. The total cost of these additional projects is $8.6 million, which brings us to a total of $11.5 of capital needs for the 18-19 school year. The technology needs shown on the previous slide include E-rate infrastructure, new Chromebooks for teachers and students, computer replacements, server replacements, DVR, and security cameras. During my financial presentation, I mentioned that I would discuss in more detail why the $4.9 million overage would be a little higher. Because we have 2 different allocations of funds for very specific purposes, all passing through one fund in our accounting system, it distorts the bottom line. We received $208 million, including premiums, and have spent $200 million year to date for our bond projects, included in the bond referendum. We still show $10.9 million encumbered to complete Berkeley Ed Center, Fox Bank, and Bowen's Corner. This gives us a bottom line of $8.7 million over budget. And I saw that I made a mistake up there. It should be under budget on those third lines. The $58 million received for the equipment acquisition was specifically for HVAC equipment, technology, food service equipment, and furniture and fixtures. The $3.8 million shown here will be spent on technology and furniture. We cannot net the 2 bottom lines together, so at the end of the projects, we will be over budget by $8.7 million on the bond referendum unless we have change orders between now and the conclusion of the projects. To recap, we received the $20.5 from the general obligation bond to be used for year 1 of 5 for the capital maintenance plan, $8.8 for the additional capital needs, and $8.7 required for the bond project overages. Before we request a motion to approve, I would like to ask James Thomas to come up and discuss a few projects that we will be beginning this year with the $1 million Abbeville grant that we received.
Madam Chair, Dr. Whitley, board members, we were very privileged, very honored to receive a grant for about $1.2 million from this Abbeville funds. The grant was wrote around to look at doing some work at Mount Holly Elementary School. The money will have to be used strictly for this project, and it was wrote around the grant about dealing with the building envelope. So therefore, we're looking at full replacement of the HVAC equipment, windows, and some roofing, and dealing with the outside exterior of the building, trying to do something there that can deal with some effervescence and stuff like that. That is a split face block type building. We're dealing with a lot of effervescence at that school. So that's where we propose to use the money. We feel that that amount of money will handle all of this, and if there's any money left over, we'll look at the roof as well. So, any questions with that project? And it does have a timeline, so this money has to be used by June the 30th. So we got to start rolling very quickly on this.
That's the old Sedgefield Intermediate.
The old Sedgefield Intermediate School.
Yes. And the new name is Mount Holly?
Mount Holly Elementary.
Elementary.
You voted on that.
No, I didn't.
I think you voted no.
He didn't like the name.
He didn't like the name. He didn't like.
I remembered when we talked about it, I said, why name that school Mount Holly?
He said it was too far from Mount Holly.
Yes.
We don't remember everything. We just remember some things.
Yes, I did vote it. I did vote it on it, but I didn't vote in favor of it.
I move to approve the 2018-2019 capital projects budget as presented.
Second.
There's a motion by Wofford, a second by Reverend Spann. Is there any additional questions or discussion about the budgeting?
I really didn't quite catch all of the difference between the 4.8 general budget capital expended or the overage of 4.8 from the general and the 8.7 total. So that's $4 million, and I didn't quite catch everything you said.
Are you referring to, let's see, this is the overview of all of the funds that we would need. We had the $20.5 million from the sale of the general obligation bond, and the 2.9 is from Dr. Parker's presentation, and we've kind of adjusted those numbers just a little bit. They were a little more conservative, but now that we know how much money we're going to receive, we were able to adjust those balances. And the additional capital needs, the projects with the technology, the canopy and awnings, etc., that was the 8.8, and then the over budget on the bond referendum was the 8.7.
He was trying to reconcile the 4.8.
Yeah.
So go back one slide.
This one?
And talk about how these numbers can't just net out. I think
Okay.
that's the question.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. These are two different pots of money, and unfortunately in our accounting system they were set up in the same fund, so they're flowing through the same fund together, but they are actually for two completely different needs. So we have the bond referendum projects on the left-hand side and our equipment acquisition on the right-hand side. So we will spend down the money on the right-hand side, and the overage includes the expenditures plus any encumbrances that we have on the bond projects on the left-hand side as 8.7.
So the equipment normally is not included in the bond referendum funding, is that correct?
It shouldn't be, but it was set up originally, I guess in 2012, it was set up in the same fund, so it really distorts the bottom line when you look at them together.
Okay.
So the actual number for the bond referendum would be the 8.7 over.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We'll move on to agenda item 2G, out-of-state travel requests.
Administration is requesting a motion to approve the out-of-state travel as presented.
I move to approve the out-of-state travel request as presented by administration.
Second.
There's a motion by Wofford, a second by Reverend Spann. Are there any questions on the information? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We're so close. 2 RFPs to go. We'll now move on to agenda item 2H, an RFP for waste collection and disposal. Ms. Smith.
I would like to invite Marcy Abrahamson to discuss items H and I.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Whitley, fellow board members. We would like to ask, back in August, we had RFP 526 that we presented, and we reserved Lot 1 because it was under protest. Currently, that protest is held because we issued our decision. They appealed the decision, and they wanted to send it before the procurement review panel. In order, because this is valued at over $1 million, the code requires them to post a protest bond. They didn't want to post the protest bond of 1%, so therefore we can no longer view it as a protest appeal, but they are now pursuing it as a contract controversy. So we are going to move forward with the award and then handle the contract controversy. Will go before the procurement review panel next week, and if we have to pull it from the final board agenda, then we will. But this is detrimental to operations, so we really need to get the award moving through the committee. So we just asked tonight that you would approve Lot 1 of RFP 1718 for the waste disposal, and Lot 1 is specifically for compactors. The compactors and hauling and removal of the waste within the compactors at the schools.
Madam Chair,
yes, sir.
I make a motion to award lot number 1 of RFP number 526-17-18 to provide compactor hauling disposal services, compactor cleaning and repair services, and new compactors as needed for district to Carolina Waste and Recycling LLC for an initial terms of 1 year with the option of renewed for 4 additional 1-year terms with estimate total contract value of $1,678,872.94.
Second. There's a motion by Reverend Spee and a second by Wofford. Are there any questions or additional discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The motion carries. We'll move on to agenda item 2I, RFP 526.
It's RFP 540-1819.
That is the wrong number on my sheet.
It's late.
Agenda item 2R, RFP 540-1819.
Yes, ma'am. This is reconditioning and hygiene services for football helmets and equipment. This is to replace an expiring term contract that was up for renewal, and so it was recompeted. And of course, this is a very necessary service to keep our helmets conditioned properly for the protection of our athletes, and the hygiene services at the end of the football season. We send everything in and it gets reconditioned and cleaned really well to prevent MRSA and that kind of thing. So we are awarding to Shut Sports for a projected annual value of $42,000. It will be a 5-year term. For the total contract value is $210,000, and we're just asking the board to approve this. The committee to approve this award for a new term contract.
Is this the same company that handled it last year?
No, sir.
What was the cost last year, you remember?
I actually have that breakdown, and this cost saving, we're actually netting I can't show it to you. It's not on a slide, but I did a cost comparison of what we paid previously, where some items were paying a little higher, some items were paying a little lower, but the net overall cost we're actually saving. Our previous pricing was $158.30 bottom line, and our new pricing is $127.96. So we're actually saving $30.34 over the old contract. So our prices are going down.
The price here is $210. Is that?
That's when you factor in the estimated quantities times the pricing for each line item, that nets to the estimated $42,000.
I move to award RFP 540-1819 for reconditioning and hygiene services for football helmets and equipment to Shut Sports for is that how you say that? What is the name? How do you say that vendor name?
Shut. That's correct.
It is Shut.
Yes, ma'am.
Shut Sports for that does not sound right. I hope nobody watches this video, but I know they do. They do watch the video. For an initial 1-year term with the option to renew for 4 additional 1-year terms with an estimated total contract value of $210,000.
Second.
There's a motion by Wofford, a second by Reverend Spann. Are there any other questions or additional discussion?
This is to include all of the middle and high schools that have JV, B
Yes.
team, varsity, all of the reconditioning for all of the high schools.
All football equipment,
including shoulder pads. Probably.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
From what I understand, we know how old they are and we cycle them. So they keep up with what they have,
We move them down to the JVs and B team is what we
But I think I guess they age out, so we keep up with the age and we cycle them. So we recondition them for so many years and then we replace what ages out.
That's correct. And like they check the integrity of the helmets and they let us know if they can't be replaced. And then we have another contract that will, for new equipment, if we need new helmets and things like that. And then they actually sew fabric and all, fix tears and all that. So they completely recondition the uniforms.
Excellent. All right. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. At this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Got to be on the committee. Reverend Spann.
I'm sorry. I thought you meant.
Oh, no, I'll take general discussion.
I'm sorry, I thought you meant
Senate. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. 2-0. The ayes have it.